Did you know that an entire English colony, 117 men, women, and children, vanished without a trace? This isn't just a legend or a ghost story whispered around a campfire. It's a real event that has baffled historians, archaeologists, and curious minds for centuries. The fate of these people remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. This is the chilling mystery of the Roanoke Colony, a story that begins with hope and ambition, but ends in silence and speculation. Roanoke Island, nestled off the coast of what is now North Carolina, was chosen as the site for England's first attempt at a permanent settlement in the New World. Imagine leaving everything behind: your home, your family, your country, crossing a dangerous, unpredictable ocean in search of a new beginning. The journey itself was perilous, with storms, disease, and uncertainty at every turn. Yet these settlers pressed on, driven by dreams of opportunity and a better life. And then, after all that, they disappeared so completely that people are still searching for answers over 4 centuries later. The only clues left behind were 2 cryptic carvings found in the wilderness. One simply read Croatoan and the other CRO. These mysterious messages have sparked endless debate, wild theories, and countless expeditions, as generations have tried to piece together what really happened. The disappearance happened on a small, isolated island off today's North Carolina coast, a place surrounded by dense forests and unpredictable waters, making escape or rescue nearly impossible. This wasn't just a handful of explorers, it was a full community including families, craftsmen, and even Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. They built homes, planted crops, and tried to carve out a new life in a strange land. What could erase an entire settlement, leaving almost nothing behind? Was it disease, starvation, conflict, or something even more mysterious? The site was found abandoned, with personal belongings left as if the settlers had vanished in an instant. In the late 1500s, isolation was total. 3 years could pass with no word from home, no ships, and no supplies. The settlers were truly on their own, facing the unknown with little hope of rescue. Let's step into the shoes of those 117 souls and follow the cold trail they left behind, as we try to unravel the secrets of the lost colony of Roanoke, a mystery that still haunts the American imagination to this day. Who were these colonists, and why risk everything for Roanoke? The answer: ambition, money, and national pride. England, eager to rival Spain's riches, sent Sir Walter Raleigh to establish a colony. The first group in 1585 were mostly soldiers and adventurers seeking gold, not farmland. They weren't equipped to build a lasting settlement. The second group in 1587 was different: families, craftsmen, and farmers led by John White. These were immigrants chasing a better life, hoping for land and opportunity. Early reports promised abundance, fertile soil, game, and friendly natives. For commoners in England, this was a dream worth the brutal 6-week crossing. They embodied the Elizabethan spirit, trading the familiar for a shot at something extraordinary. Their hopes would soon be tested. The first Roanoke attempt in 1585, led by Ralph Lane, went wrong from the start. Their main supply ship wrecked, leaving them dependent on local tribes for food. Tensions rose as the English demanded more, eventually leading to violence and the killing of Chief Wingina. The men, mostly soldiers, failed at farming and found no gold or deep-water port. Disease, hunger, and isolation crushed morale. When Sir Francis Drake stopped by in 1586, the colonists eagerly abandoned the settlement. Ironically, a supply ship arrived weeks later to find the fort deserted. The first Roanoke chapter ended in failure, a warning for those who followed. The dream of a New World outpost had become a nightmare of survival. The English learned soldiers alone couldn't build a colony. The next attempt would need families and farmers. After the disastrous first attempt, Raleigh was determined not to give up. In 1587, he organized a new expedition, this time sending 117 colonists across the Atlantic. Unlike before, this group included entire families, not just soldiers or adventurers. They were led by John White, an artist and mapmaker, who hoped that bringing women and children would help the colony thrive and create a sense of permanence in the New World. Their intended destination was the more promising Chesapeake Bay, but fate intervened. The pilot of their ship, perhaps wary of danger or pressed for time, left them instead at Roanoke Island, the very site where the first colony had failed just a few years earlier. The colonists had little choice but to make the best of their unexpected landing. As they explored the island, the new arrivals found the remains of the previous settlement. Abandoned, overgrown buildings and scattered belongings told a silent story of hardship and loss. The grim evidence of what had happened to the earlier colonists was a sobering welcome. Relations with the local tribes were complicated and uncertain. The Croatoan people, who lived nearby, were generally friendly and offered some assistance. However, other neighboring tribes remembered past conflicts and were openly hostile, making every encounter fraught with tension and risk. Not long after their arrival, tragedy struck. A colonist venturing out from the settlement was ambushed and killed by hostile natives. This shocking event served as a stark warning to the others about the dangers that surrounded them in this unfamiliar land. Despite the fear and uncertainty, the colonists pressed on. They worked together to repair the old buildings, build new shelters, and establish a sense of community. Every day was a struggle, but they were determined to create a new life for themselves and their families. Amidst these challenges, a moment of hope arrived. On August 18th, Eleanor Dare gave birth to a daughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in America. Her birth was celebrated as a symbol of new beginnings and the promise of a future in this distant land. But as summer turned to fall, the settlers faced a new crisis. Their food supplies dwindled rapidly and it was already too late in the season to plant new crops. Hunger and worry began to spread through the small community. As winter approached, the colonists braced themselves for bitter cold and hardship. With little food and few resources, survival became a daily struggle. The dream of a thriving colony seemed to slip further away with each passing day. Desperate for help, the colonists made a difficult decision. John White, their governor, would return to England to seek much-needed supplies and support. His departure was bittersweet, as he left behind his family and friends, not knowing what the future would hold. The fate of the Roanoke Colony now rested on a perilous journey across the vast and unpredictable Atlantic Ocean. Their hopes for survival and for a new beginning hung in the balance. With supplies running out, the colonists chose John White to return to England for help, leaving behind his daughter and newborn granddaughter. Before leaving, they agreed, if forced to move, the colonists would carve their new location into a tree. A Maltese cross would signal distress. White sailed for England, expecting a quick return. But he arrived to find England preparing for war with Spain, the Spanish Armada. All ships were seized for defense. White's pleas for a relief mission were ignored. He tried to return in 1588, but his ships were attacked by pirates and forced back. The war dragged on, trapping White in England for 3 years. His planned 3-month trip became a nightmare. Meanwhile, the fate of Roanoke's colonists grew more uncertain. When White finally returned, everything had changed. In August of 1590, after years of desperate waiting and failed attempts to return, John White finally set foot again on Roanoke Island. On the very day his granddaughter Virginia Dare would have turned 3 years old. The anticipation and hope he carried were quickly replaced by dread as he approached the settlement. The scene that greeted him was haunting. The settlement was eerily empty, houses dismantled, fences pulled down, and not a single soul in sight. There were no signs of violence, no evidence of a struggle, and not even a single grave to mark what had happened. The only clues left behind were mysterious carvings. Croatoan etched into a sturdy post, and the letters CRO carved into a nearby tree. There was no Maltese cross, the agreed-upon sign of distress. These cryptic messages suggested the colonists had left willingly, perhaps relocating to Croatoan Island, what we now call Hatteras Island, where friendly Native Americans lived. White clung to hope. He spent the night planning, determined to search for his family and the other settlers at first light, convinced they might still be alive, waiting for rescue. But fate intervened. That night, a violent storm swept in from the Atlantic, battering the ship. The anchor cable snapped and the captain, fearing for the crew's safety, refused to risk another landing. Heartbroken and powerless, White was forced to leave Roanoke behind, never to see his family or the colonists again. The pain of that loss would haunt him for the rest of his life. The colony had vanished, no bodies, no battle, just silence, and the unsettling emptiness of a place once full of life. The careful dismantling of homes and orderly disappearance of belongings hinted at an organized, deliberate departure, not a panicked flight. Yet the mystery only deepened. Where had they gone? Why had they left no message for White except for a single word? The only evidence was that single word, Croatoan, and a trail that had long since gone cold, leaving more questions than answers. The search for answers was just beginning as explorers, historians, and dreamers would spend centuries trying to unravel the fate of the lost colony. Roanoke became America's oldest and most haunting unsolved mystery, a ghost story echoing through the centuries. The word Croatoan is the most important clue. For white, it meant the colonists had moved to Roanoke Island, home of their native allies. No distress signals suggested a peaceful, planned relocation. The theory, with supplies low and mainland tribes hostile, moving to Croatoan was a smart survival move. Archaeological finds on Hatteras Island, English pottery, a sword hilt, a writing tablet, suggest some colonists did make it there. But no large English settlement was ever found. Later explorers heard stories of natives with gray eyes and English ancestry. Perhaps the colonists assimilated so well their traces vanished. The Croatoan clue remains the best lead, but the full story is still missing. The mystery endures. Other theories abound. Some believe the colonists split into small groups, assimilating with different tribes, explaining the lack of a single settlement. The Dare stones, possibly forgeries, tell of sickness, death, and survivors heading inland. English pottery found west of Roanoke hints some may have gone inland, not south. A darker theory, the colonists were killed by the Powhatan Confederacy, who later claimed responsibility. Yet, the peaceful departure at Roanoke doesn't fit a massacre. Another theory, the Spanish destroyed the colony, but no records support this. Each theory has evidence and holes, no single answer fits all the facts. The fate of the lost colony remains elusive. Did they assimilate, perish, or scatter? The truth is still out there, just beyond our reach. What really happened to the lost colony? After 400 years, we still don't know. Archaeologists use radar, DNA, and pottery analysis to hunt for clues. Each discovery, like English artifacts on Hatteras or inland, adds complexity, not clarity. The truth may be a mix. Some went to Croatoan, others inland, each meeting a different fate. The Roanoke mystery endures because it's unsolved, a void we can't help but try to fill. The courage and fragility of those 117 souls still capture our imagination. As long as questions remain, the search continues. The adventure is in the hunt for answers. Follow along for more unsolved mysteries. Who knows what we'll uncover next? The Lost Colony's story isn't over yet.